What's the most popular fighting game? According to Steam, Tekken 8 comes in at exactly 10,000 current players, Street Fighter 6 a little less than 7,000 current players, and Mortal Kombat 1 coming in at less than 2,000 current players. When it comes to the Mount Rushmore of fighting games, these three are definitely on the list. And when you add up the current players, at least on Steam, they still don't even match with the top 25 games currently played on Steam, showing how much of a niche that the fighting game community is. And the question is, what can fighting games do to actually make it completely mainstream popular? Fighting game community is extremely niche, but when you really tap into these analytics and realize how small the community is, the viewership, the game, just its overall mainstream popularity, it kind of makes you think like, damn, more people should be like far more supportive of people in these fields, especially those that are really working their tail off to bring awareness and viewership. And we should definitely work on eliminating toxicity most of the time, because it is a very, very niche community. But let's just break down analytics, because I am not a trust me bro source. So let's tap into why I feel like how popular are these games and how do they hold up to other stuff. So according to Steam charts, Tekken 8 has 10,000 current players, Street Fighter 6 has a little less than 7,000, and Mortal Kombat 1 has less than 2,000. Now, if you add all these games together, they still don't even match up to the top 25 games. Number 25 game being Warframe, which is a game that was like made in 2013, but is damn well one of the best free-to-play games of all time. Especially when you go against the games like Fortnite and Warzone and all that. Warzone by far and it is going to be, of course, consistent. Fortnite's consistent, but Warframe is something that's not even PvP, or technically you can go later on, but yeah, it's number 25, and these fighting games don't even hold up to that when you add them all together up into Warframe. So when we start, let's look into the game, let's look into Tekken 8 first, right? It has 10,000 current players, and when you look at Tekken 8, you're like, damn, this game is far, like the aesthetics, it's very fruitful and bright, and the 3D aspect, and it seems like the graphics and the punishes look really cool. It seems like this would be a game that would be more, I mean, tournaments show that it is the most popular signed up for game. It could be either because it's a recent release, or it's just that Tekken is just like that culturally. And it's actually both routes are correct, because culturally, man, Tekken 8 is always going to be the game to go to if you want to play like tourneys and test your real skills. So it's only right that Tekken 8 does have the most current players right now, but you would think that this game had the potential. Now, it did have some hiccups along the way, but this did have potential to go even further mainstream. But now that the honeymoon is over, the release hype is over, it kind of just gone back and reverted to its actual numbers, in which it always has been, I guess, you know what I mean? Especially being a few months release. Then you look into Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6, in my opinion, is the most overall. Tekken 8, I feel, has the I wouldn't say the highest learning curve, but much more of the advanced notions of a beginner really can jump into this, and then also very, very advanced could jump into this. Why? Because they made it more aggressive in Tekken 8. With Street Fighter 6, it's kind of more intermediate. It's not really noob friendly, but it's not the most advanced unless you go to the highest of tournaments, right? We all know how that goes, and they dish out the most fucking money for the most part. But they do have modern controls this time around, so it does kind of help. But Street Fighter 6 is more intermediate. I'd say they're more on cruise control. They don't ever really get that crazy hype, but they don't ever really fall, bar none, below like the way Mortal Kombat 1 has right now. They have kept their consistency, and they've been released the longest. So you got to give them their props when you give them their props. Again, I don't necessarily think Street Fighter has ever been that type of crazy mainstream ideal, at least for a general public audience. If you're a fighting game player, of course, it's on your Mount Rushmore and everything, but I don't know, it's something about Street Fighter that just doesn't really cater to audiences, because when people see Street Fighter, they obviously want to go back and look at another 2D fighter such as Mortal Kombat, right? And then let's correlate and transition into that. So Mortal Kombat now, less than 2,000 current players, while Street Fighter 6 has a little bit less than 7,000. You look at that and you're like, damn, so this time around, this could be because Mortal Kombat 1, this time around was just extremely weird. They don't have their most popular characters necessarily the strongest, I guess you would say. And Mortal Kombat 1 has always been a party game, but for some reason, it seemed like they wanted to start getting heavily into the tourneys, but they don't really help out the pros that much. Pros really hated this game at launch. Now, it has gotten a lot better since, but I don't know if they already lost that ooze for ultimate beginners to want to just wake up, turn on their game system, and just play Mortal Kombat 1. You know what I mean? So pros would love for it to be a pro aspect. Even sweatier gamers want this game to be much more at a competitive level. Casual players, it might be too complicated right now for casual players, and their player base keeps going smaller and smaller and smaller. And the reason being, I think people can only deal with it so long, so they do revert back. They want it just like OG type Mortal Kombat, where you can kind of just pick it up and just mash all day, have fun, have all the blood and gore. This one is a little bit more complicated, especially with the cameo system, can be overwhelming. So that's truly understandable. The only cool thing that I know about Mortal Kombat is because of the brand itself. So although there is less current players for Mortal Kombat 1, every time I would ever even think about playing this game, I haven't played this game in a while, but if I did think about playing this game, especially in current times, I always notice a new wave of audiences that will come through to my stream, because we do variety streams, right? I play fighting games and FPS and all that stuff, solo, single player story games. But when they come through, I noticed the only game that really will revert to new audiences at times is Mortal Kombat still. Even if they have the least viewership on Twitch and the least current players right now. But people still stop by my stream, especially OG fans that are just kind of just tapping into TikTok brain rot and swiping the fuck everywhere. They're like, oh, damn, like, oh, you're playing Mortal Kombat? Is this Mortal Kombat, bro? Is like Smoke still in there? Is Scorpion still in there? And so because of the brand they built for themselves, so regardless of Mortal Kombat still being the least viewed and the least currently played, at least in terms of players when it comes to Steam, I think they still hold the most for being mainstream and for trying to take a game mainstream. But they did fail essentially to that. And going back to the conversation I was just saying, where the popular characters are not necessarily strong, like Sub is Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and Smoke is pretty dope, I guess. You know, Johnny Cage is carrying it in terms of mainstream popularity. Again, very, 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 very main. I'm talking about stupid mainstream, not mainstream fighting games, but just mainstream in totality. So a lot of the characters were, you know, Melinas and Kitanas, I think, where you can just pick up, kind of match, have some fun. It kind of just went out the window with this game. A lot of it had to do with 11 also, because this game's kind of a mixture of Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 9. So although they do have a huge mainstream fan base due to it being just a global brand for all of these years since OG times, I think that Mortal Kombat has failed both scenes this time around, therefore concluding in them being the least currently played, the least currently viewed right now. But it is solid for what it is and how they're trying to bring the game back right now. But again, if I were to think of, if you're a fighting game player, you're thinking in your mind Tekken has the best option to make any type of fighting game mainstream right now. It looks the prettiest, it's fun, it's very, very addictive at times, even when you're getting your ass whooped. The learning curve is by far the highest, and it's a great entry-level game because they have easy-ass characters now, like Victor and Eddie Gordo, that you can just press one button and do combos. They also have the special style combos that are a lot more in-depth than what a Street Fighter 6 modern control is. Mortal Kombat 1 doesn't necessarily have that, and then they have the cameo system, and then the game itself can get kind of weirdo at times. I think we all know the cheesy essences of Mortal Kombat. It is a fun game, just a couch game where you play a party game, but you do have a lot more experienced players playing that game that never rotated off the game. I know people to this day, including some of the people I know and I'm cool with, my friends, that still don't stop playing Mortal Kombat 1. They have not, they play that game every day, they stream it every day, and whenever they get off work, they play it. And so there's a lot of people left, or whatever's left in that current player system, the player base, that have not got off that game. So if a new player wants to come play Mortal Kombat now, it kind of gets them away. And the ranking system's not the best. That goes for Tekken 8 also. Street Fighter 6 is, again, kind of the most consistent, but damn near definitely not perfect. So it is really hard to show like how these games could be mainstream, because the popularity obviously is kind of weird, and it's very niche when you open your eyes to it. You're like, damn, man, like these games really are just a small ass community. And when you have like toxic people around and shit, it's like, damn, you're kind of tearing down your own bridge to help elevate these type of scenes. But then when you're like kind of just crushing it, right? When you have numbers, you're good, you're positive, you're open-minded about the games, it really helps you out, stand out from these crowds too. Because if you're a platform that's trying to spread awareness, what we're kind of doing on our platforms at times, it really does help, and you meet genuine people that are like, oh yeah, because you're never gonna find that much people actively searching for these games like they would Fortnite or Warzone or just any game that is in that top 25 Steam list, including old ass games, man. There's old games on that Steam list, and they're just way higher viewership than these fighting games ever will be. And fighting games are not necessarily known for story, but I think things like Shaolin Monks or things like Mortal Kombat 9 story was pretty cool. Or just ways like that where you can kind of, the Street Fighter 6 World Tour and Shaolin Monks by far are my favorite story mode fighting games, because it has a depth to it where it's like it could bring, those are the two things that really did commercialize, or at least had a huge risky chance to commercialize these games. And I feel that there needs to be more of that. Street Fighter 6 World Tour and Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks are probably the two best things, and I'll probably make a more in-depth video on that too. But if these types of games ever want to be popular, especially according to these charts right now, and these are not old games, Street Fighter 6 just reached its year release anniversary. So I think it did, right? Yeah, it did in April, I believe. Was it April? I believe it was April. And it's kind of the numbers for now. So these are all fairly new games, still under a year less. And so, yeah, it really is cool. But y'all got to let me know what y'all think can happen to mainstream these fighting games. Let me know.